I can hear yours. Yours sounds fine.
Okay. I'm just can you check if the stream's going on live? Because I don't know. Like, it's still loading.
Yeah, I'll check right now. I guess I'll use my phone as a second monitor.
Heck? I don't know. Oh, now we're live.
Oh, now we're live. All right, now we're live. Perfect. I see it right here.
All right. Took a little bit to get going. It's been a little while. Let's see what we got today, everybody. It's the Combat Sports Guy, James here, and we're here with Jeremy again.
Yeah, we are.
We love to start the show. We love to get the show going. Let's get it going the right way. Let's get right into news. We got Shakur has suffered a hand injury and is now out of his fight against Joe Cordina on October 12th. He's expected to make a return early next year. What should be next for Shakur when he comes back? What do you, man, that's tough. What do you think, Jeremy? What should be next for Shakur when he comes back?
That's a tough one because obviously, you could realistically still set up that fight with Joe Cordina, but obviously me personally, I don't think that's a fight that people are exactly looking to I guess buy into. I don't think that's going to get much viewership, honestly. That has to be like a co-main of some sort, of another Riyadh season card potentially that they have lined up for 2025. I think that's it. Like if they really are that set on a Joe Cordina fight, then I think that's what they have to do. But other than that, I think Shakur just needs to move on to maybe somebody with a bigger name potentially.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also tough because Shakur won't have essentially a tune-up that could basically get him ready for said big name. So realistically, Shakur's timetable, I can't imagine. I really think that it's gonna we're not gonna get, I guess, the Shakur experience until maybe late 2025, if I had to take a wild guess. I think it's going to be a while before we see him get into actually, some fights that we really do want to see, like a Shakur versus Tank, maybe a Shakur versus a Loma, that kind of thing, maybe Shakur Baranchink, whatever it may be. It's going to take some time because of this hand surgery. So that's really unfortunate. But yeah, we can only speculate for now, like how things are going to go, because we really don't know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that if they're aiming for that Joe Cordina fight, and obviously he is with Matchroom, so I think that even if he doesn't get Joe Cordina fight, I think for sure they're looking for some fighter, obviously like a European fighter, because I think that's like a lot of the fighters that Matchroom has. I think it's hard. It's going to be hard for them to find a big name, because I think that Core's going to want some time to he wants like somewhat of a tune-up, and I don't think he wants to fight a Tank, a Tio, even a Garcia or a Rayo or any of these of the following names, or even a William Cepeda. I don't think he wants to fight anybody like that with coming off of as long as a layoff as he's gonna have to have. But it just depends. I know Matchroom wants to make his career flourish, and I think the best way to do that might be to give him a tune-up. He is a very talented boxer, but it's going to be tough, for him. Anybody that they choose for him to go up against, it's going to be tough in the sense that his opposition now is finally going to be moving up. He's also kind of, he's starting to mature, and his competition is going to be maturing as well. So I do find that whoever he fights next, most likely, in my opinion, probably another European fighter in Matchroom's stable of fighters. I think it's going to be a tough matchup for him. He's going to win probably 8-4, 9-3 rounds, but he's going to lose a few rounds for the first time, I think, in his career when he fights some of these guys, just because these guys are going to, I think they also have their own confidence as being former champions like Joe Cordina. So it's going to be an interesting fight, to have. Joe Cordina is he's at the cusp of being an elite level boxer. So for sure, this has to be somewhat of a decent fight. But I think that Shakur obviously is going to win easily on the scorecards, but at least he's going to have he's going to learn a little bit more from this fight. And then after that, I think they could start shooting for William Cepeda or somebody bigger, but it's tough to see that happening right now, especially after this long layoff he's going to have after the hand surgery.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, these things happen. It's just part of boxing. It's part of combat sports in general. A lot of these dudes, sometimes guys go into the ring and they have, fractures or they have muscle soreness or rips in their muscles, and they'll still go into there and compete. Almost none of these fighters really show up 100%, but Shakur, definitely you can't go in there with a broken hand. So I would say that it was a good move to call this off and to allow him to take that time to really heal up, because hand injury is very serious, especially in a sport where you're literally fighting with your hands. It's all the only tool you got in the toolbox. But yeah, I don't know. What else do you think that do you think that's pretty much going to be somebody else from that Matchroom stable that's going to be fighting Shakur, or do you think they're going to stick with Joe Cordina?
I would say maybe somebody else. I don't know. I mean, again, because it's like when people found out about this whole like Joe Cordina fight, I mean, nobody was really excited. People were like, oh yeah, maybe Joe Cordina might upset him, but there wasn't anybody who was like, there wasn't exactly the most positive reactions. Everybody was more or less just like, oh, it's just another Shakur, probably like another Shakur
performance
where he just exactly like he wins like 9-3, 10-2, 8-4. It is, like people were expecting that kind of fight. And so I can imagine a Matchroom just scoops somebody else up, like scoops, or just pick somebody else out. And again, hopefully, I mean, again, I personally think that, Shakur should not go directly into a fight with somebody like William Cepeda or that big name, he needs to have some kind of tune-up first just to make sure his hand is 100%, Yeah, so I think Matchroom's probably going to pick out somebody else to basically, get it. Like that'll be Shakur Stevenson's rehab assignment, basically. Like that'll be his it'll be like a rehab fight, basically. See how he's doing, and then from there, that's when you're like, okay, Shakur's back in form. Now let's get him into the big fight. So yeah, it's going to be a while for sure before we see him actually fight, people who we do want to see him fight.
So switching from one topic, obviously this is a fight that got pulled out of a fight that was on a Riyadh season card. We're moving to another Riyadh season card in the Latino night boxing card, which is actually, I mean, I think what they're doing with Riyadh season is really cool and awesome that they're doing this, because this is literally like not that far after the Noche UFC. So it seems like this is going to be somewhat of a yearly thing for Riyadh season to be doing. But yeah, no, Latino night boxing card will have, it's pretty much what they did. It's literally just like the best Golden Boy card that they could put together at this moment, pretty much. It's pretty much all the Golden Boy fighters getting a step up in competition, all of them, and just having the opportunity to just solidify themselves as being either a top 10 or top 5 in any of their divisions. And it's just a good opportunity for them to have just classic fights. I think that we're looking at some really decent matchups. William Cepeda versus Tevin Farmer is going to be fun. Tevin is a tough competitor no matter what. I don't see him beating William Cepeda at all, but I think it's going to be a decent fight. Oscar Duarte always has, really intense fights, and with Kenneth Sims Jr., I'm sure that it's going to be, equally as much of a fun fight. And then we got Jose Ramirez versus Arnold Barboza Jr., which really solidifies this card as being really an all-out Golden Boy fest, in the sense that, Golden Boys, it's been a long time since they've done this, but they're finally going to be matching up two of their fighters together, and two fighters at the same weight class, and relatively in a good point in their careers. And they're matching them up together because I think that the winner of this is probably going to get a Ryan Garcia or even another name, or maybe even just a title shot. So this is actually a really good fight. I actually do like that fight. Stylistically, it's going to be interesting. Zurdo Ramirez versus Chris Billum Smith. I don't know much about Chris Billum Smith, to be honest with you. I'm sure this is probably going to be just another Zurdo Ramirez display of what he can do at the weight class. So I don't see that much difference in there. But yeah, no, those are my early predictions. I would have Zurdo Ramirez winning. The Jose Ramirez Arnold Barboza fight is tough, but I would say that based off of Barboza's last performance, and it's actually a very tough fight, to be honest with you. Both guys are really at the they're at a point in their career where this is kind of the last run for them, or maybe the first run in Arnold Barboza's case. It's going to be difficult. Jose Ramirez's chin has been pretty tricky at times, but Arnold Barboza did not have a good display in his last fight. This is a really, it's going to be a difficult, it's really who shows up that night to have a better performance. I'm at the moment leaning towards Jose Ramirez just because I think his style is just a lot more relentless than Arnold Barboza's is. I think Arnold Barboza, he kind of takes his foot off the gas at times because he is a great boxer, but that's not always great in the eyes of the judges when, Jose Ramirez is throwing upwards of, 50, 60, 70 punches around. So I don't know. I think that's a tough fight for Arnold Barboza. And right now I'm leaning towards Jose Ramirez. William Cepeda is going to be beating Tevin Farmer. It just depends what round you want to call it. Oscar Collazo is probably going to beat Edwin Hernandez. Oscar Collazo's had some pretty decent fights, and he's been champion for a while now. And Oscar Duarte, I think, is going to take that win against Kenneth Sims Jr. But I do have to look into that fight a little bit more. It might be tricky for Duarte because he's already been knocked down before, and he's had some pretty tough fights up to this point. But Jeremy, what do you think about Latino Night that Riyadh season's putting together? And I don't know, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Who you kind of calling is going to win a lot of these fights up front? What do you think?
Yeah, no, to be honest, I have the exact same predictions as you. I can't imagine too many knockouts in this card besides maybe William Zepeda.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these are going to go to decision, but still entertaining fights nonetheless. I like the idea. I think it's a really dope concept, and it's cool that Riyadh season is showing kind of like appreciation towards Latinos a lot. I think it's a really dope concept. But I think my favorite part about this card is just the fact that is that Golden Boy fighters are now fighting each other. We're so used to seeing Golden Boy fighters fight, guys from little itty bitty promotions, but now, Riyadh season has said, hey, we're going to pay you guys enough to where you guys are fighting each other now. So I think it's a really dope concept. I love it. I like the whole, from the main, the whole main card is incredible, I think. And especially if you're very familiar with Golden Boys events, you definitely know a lot about these guys already. So the only thing that I really just kind of don't understand is why this is taking place in Saudi Arabia when there's probably a population of zero.
This should have been. This really should have been a West Coast card, but I think
that's the only thing that I have to say about this card. I don't understand why it's in Saudi Arabia, and it's kind of sucks because it's like, well, for somebody like me who works on a Saturday, like I won't be able to watch most of this card. I'll probably be able to watch maybe like three fights. I like it. I think it's dope. As far as the predictions goes, I basically have the exact same. Let me pull up. Let's see. The only one that, I would say I got Zurdo by decision. He's had some pretty close ones lately, or no, I wouldn't say close ones, but he's had some decisions lately. Jose Ramirez versus Arnold Barboza. That one's a coin toss. It really is. That one, I'm leaning towards Jose Ramirez because honestly, they did give Arnold Barboza his last win. That definitely should have been a loss for him. I didn't agree with that decision at all. And then what else I got? William Zepeda, same thing. I think William Zepeda is he's gonna knock out Tevin Farmer, but it'll still be an entertaining fight throughout. Oscar Collazo versus Edwin Hernandez, another good one on tap. That one, I think that one, Oscar Collazo takes it maybe by decision. He's had a couple close ones, or at least he's had a couple close ones lately. And then Oscar Duarte versus Kenneth Sims. I'm really excited for that. I feel like that's a really underrated matchup because both guys are Golden Boy guys. and what's it called?
Yeah.
And both guys were they were really built up. They were built up before. I mean, obviously before Oscar Duarte fought Ryan Garcia. When he was still being built up as a prospect and all that kind of thing. And then Kenneth Sims is still being built up by Golden Boy. So, and this is a crazy step up in competition for Kenneth Sims. So this is like, if Kenneth Sims can manage to, win, let alone knock out Oscar Duarte some way, somehow, like, man, he's going to be a legit threat in the 140 division, So that one's a very underrated matchup for sure. So I think, I love the concept, the whole concept, all that good stuff. It's going to be a good one for sure.
I totally agree with you, and I really like the card a lot. I love that it's happening in November. I don't know why, but November seems like a very Hispanic month to me. Especially, I don't know, like especially because it's like after Day of, towards, still feeling aspects of Day of the Dead and all that stuff. Yeah. But this is going to be a good card, and it's just a fun card, and it's honestly the best card that Golden Boy has put together since, I would say, maybe a Canelo card, like a Canelo Triple G2 card, or maybe they've mixed something in there. Maybe it's tough. Like all Golden Boy card like that, they've been trying their best to put something together like this for a while now. Like they tried it with the Fresno card, which was decent, but nothing has come close to this level of opposition. This is the best Golden Boy card that there could be, aside of them getting their top guys to fight against another promotion. But this is the best Golden Boy bred card that there could be. And honestly, it's actually a very competitive, and of course it's like Latino night, because Golden Boy, I think, has the most Latino boxers out of any promotion. And it honestly shows here, because it's going to be all these fights are going to be decent. There's not one fight that's not going to be good on this card. Aside of the fact that, there probably will be decision fights, but I'm sure that they're all high level. I mean, the Smith Ramirez fight, it's for a unification. The Ramirez Barboza fight is a like you said, it was a coin toss. William Cepeda versus Tevin Farmer, it's fun because Tevin Farmer is in the top 15 in that division, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Edwin Hernandez versus Oscar Collazo is just going to be another good fight for Oscar, and Oscar Duarte, Kenneth Sims is going to be for sure a great way to kick off the card. So I'm actually happy with this card. I think this is the first Golden Boy card where I'm just like, the whole card needs to be watched all the way through. So those are really my thoughts with the Riyadh season card. I'm a huge fan of Latino Night card they're putting together. But speaking still on the same subject, it seems like this is just the way boxing's going, because this weekend we're looking very far ahead with these past two topics. But this weekend, tomorrow, we got Riyadh season card, Wembley edition is finally here on Saturday, September 21st. Who will win the IBF heavyweight title between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois? We've been talking about this for a while now, and my opinion still has not changed. But Jeremy, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I know. It is well known that I went with Daniel Dubois in the beginning, and you know what? I'm a hold strong on my pick. I'm pulling for Daniel Dubois, man. Man, I don't know.
Look,
to win.
Look, here's the deal too. Anything could happen. As we just seen on this top ranked card, one of their biggest just got upset. Somebody that
I'm like, that's why I keep looking up and that's ridiculous.
Well, that's all timing based, obviously, and the same thing can happen here. If Anthony Joshua throws in a jab and he leaves his hand down, because that could happen to any of us, because you're so focused on putting some power behind that jab, and Dubois is able to find and connect on Anthony Joshua's chin. What we have to consider is that at the heavyweight level, if anybody connects on your chin, you're going down. So of course, this anything could happen. But to be quite honest with you, Jeremy, it's not happening. Anthony Joshua he's beating Dubois.
Hey man, this is definitely gonna be one of the few times we disagree. I won't hold you. But man, Jerry. Dubois is an email champ though. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sit here and just say, oh yeah, Dubois earned that IBF strap. No, not really. But you know what? I'm just gonna go with Dubois by puncher's chance, man.
Well, I mean, it's not the worst division to have puncher's chance in. Like we've seen it,
Yeah.
a
I'm
lot.
like, I don't know. I mean, Dubois looked pretty okay against Usyk before getting stopped.
Yeah. The key word there, Jeremy, is he got stopped.
He did get stopped, but he did land that body shot though.
That's true. I
He did
personally
land that body shot.
I personally thought that Dubois should have won that body shot.
He definitely should have won that fight. But I mean, then again, I mean, Anthony Joshua just has some crazy momentum, even though his last competition hasn't been, much to write home about. What was it? Ngannou, Wallin, who else? I feel like I'm missing somebody.
Ngannou, Wallin, and
Helenius, Robert Helenius too.
Yeah.
So he fought those three guys, or I feel like I'm missing somebody else. I don't remember. But just based on those three guys, it's not exactly the highest level competition, but I think it's something enough to where, Anthony Joshua's confidence is probably through the roof right now, which is great for him because that means he's going to go into this fight, basically probably more sure of himself. So when he's actually in the ring, he's committed to his punches. He's basically taking the necessary steps to, essentially probably finish Dubois or at least get a decision win. Right. But obviously AJ has that he just has heavy hands. So, and Dubois he's a bit chinny. I'm not going to lie to you. He's a little chinny. Right.
Yeah, Dubois is chinny. I think that Joshua could get the finish in this fight. But to be honest with you, it's actually going to be a good competitive fight.
Yeah, but definitely don't count out Dubois for sure. Definitely do not count out Dubois because anything can happen. Anything can happen, especially on a Riyadh season card.
Joshua hasn't had the best opposition compared to Dubois in the past few fights. But even then, I do have to say, Anthony Joshua is explosive. And as long as – and not only that, he also has more tools in his toolbox. He has a decent jab. He has a great 1-2. He has a decent left hook. He has good – footwork, good movement. He literally is just a complete heavyweight boxer. And unfortunately, he's in an era where we have guys like Tyson Fury that can bend the rules and win fights, and Usyk who is literally just a Lomachenko of heavyweights. So he just can't catch up with those two. But I think that Joshua's going to win this fight. This is for Joshua to decide, whether he wants to still be in the mix or not. I think this is Joshua's fight to win.
Yeah. I mean, it's true, and he's also a really sizable favorite to Vegas. So, I mean, at least there's that. But man, I don't know. Too many people are counting out Dubois. Man, that's why I'm rocking with Dubois. I think that's why I'm picking him. I'm still, and then I know we're gonna come back next week, and James is gonna be laughing all up in my face. Because I picked Dubois, but you know what? I'm a rock with Dubois.
When he's knocked out in the 10th round, I'm just gonna be like,
yeah. I mean, when Anthony Joshua maybe gets that highlight reel KO, we can laugh at Jeremy for picking Daniel Dubois for beating Anthony Joshua. But
and Dubois is Frank Warren guy, or is he also Matchroom?
He's a Queensberry guy.
Hey,
so this is essentially a Queensberry versus Matchroom fight, but obviously. The Matchroom guy definitely has a big advantage here.
Matchroom has the big advantage here, and honestly, I think they're going to take it. But, hey, I mean, Matchroom hasn't fared too well against Queensberry. So
that's true. But this could be the start of the redemption for Matchroom.
I mean, Matchroom hasn't, not in a bad way, but Matchroom has not fared well against any promotion, to be honest with you. But
that's also true.
but they have, Anthony Joshua is their guy. It's like, when Golden Boy had Canelo, that was their guy. So
yeah.
I think that they're going to take this one. But sticking on the idea of Matchroom, we have Eddie Hearn is very interested in making a fight between Edgar Berlanga and Diego Pacheco at 168. With both fighters being under Matchroom boxing promotions, how does a fight like this play out? Wow, this is an excellent fight. Really good fight. Really, really good fight to make. This is a proper, young guy versus young guy. We're talking about, we're talking about two really young prospects here. I don't know. I mean, this is really interesting. I'm thinking, I don't know when's the last time we've seen two prospects fight like this. I know Martinez versus who's the guy that they caught with cement in their gloves?
Margarito
and Martinez. Sergio Martinez versus Margarito is
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
one of the only times that two prospects at a young age like this have fought against each other, and that fight was, unbelievable.
Oh, dynamite.
So
Yeah.
this is going to be dynamite as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is tough. It's tough to even know who's going to win this fight because Berlanga showed that he can hang with the best at his age. But Pacheco really has a lot of momentum behind him, and he's actually fought against some decent competition earlier than Berlanga was able to. So
Yeah.
this is really up in the air as to who could win this fight. It literally is a toss-up again, just like the Ramirez-Barboza fight. I cannot pick at the moment. I would lean maybe towards – logic makes you lean towards Berlanga, but honestly, Pacheco might have more tools in his toolbox than Berlanga does, to be honest with you. So I think Pacheco really might be able to edge this out. Also because Berlanga, I mean, he has tasted a loss and Pacheco hasn't. So there's also that mental dynamic too. And Pacheco's just younger and he's training under Benavidez. He has great work that he gets with Benavidez and all the other big, pretty much, big Mexican boxers that they have over there in the Benavidez camp. So he's ready to go. Berlanga, it's going to be an interesting fight for him. I actually really like this fight and this matchup. I think that Matchroom is cooking up something really good here. This is amazing. I mean, this is like if somehow, Golden Boy got Kid Austin to move up and fight Ryan Garcia or something. Like these are, two young guys just displaying boxing, and it's going to be a good fight. There's no doubt about it. What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, no, I mean, it only makes sense that these guys fight now. I mean, Edgar Berlanga and both Diego Pacheco are under the same Matchroom Boxing brand. So not only will this fight be a little easier, a little more simple to make in the sense that obviously you don't have to go promotion to promotion negotiations, but even then it's like this is a fight where you have two young guys who, I mean, obviously Edgar Berlanga is still, I mean, his whole career is still ahead of him. Same thing for Diego Pacheco. Still, both guys are extremely young. And, I mean, it only makes sense for this fight to happen now. As far as who I think would win, I do have to agree with going to giving Pacheco a slight edge. Obviously taking a loss does affect people. It does affect boxers mentals. It definitely does. That definitely is a factor. But also, Diego Pacheco has definitely shown some good skill sets over the years, and he, I feel that the more he's learning, the more, and he's already used to headlining events too. The more he's fighting as he's gaining experience and whatnot. He will be ready for that big stage in a short amount of time, maybe shorter than a lot of people think. So. I mean, Diego Pacheco has been a name that a lot of people have kind of thrown around a lot in the 168-pound division, and there's a good reason for it. And I think it only makes sense for this fight to happen. One guy coming off a loss with still plenty to prove. One guy who's undefeated, who wants to get to that next step. I think this is the perfect fight. But also, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a Berlanga versus Plant either. Like, let's not.
That's a more winnable fight for Berlanga.
Truthfully, like let's not what's it called? Limit ourselves to just this one. I would love to see a Berlanga versus Plant. Who else? There's a lot of or shoot. I mean, Pacheco versus Plant. I don't know. Like, man, there's a lot of talent in the 168 division. Truthfully, so.
Yeah.
But I think with this fight, just with both guys being under the same promotion, it only makes sense for this one to happen next. It really does.
And I also got to give credit to Canelo in the sense that even though everybody complains that he doesn't fight all of his mandatories, which is true. I mean, he did not want to fight Benavidez, and it's very evident. What we do have to admit is that even if he did fight Benavidez, that would be a close fight no matter what. 168 pounds is run by Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo has literally just displayed that that he's just levels above the young competition at the in the division. So I just have to say it's crazy because Berlanga loses to Canelo, Munguia loses to Canelo, Plant loses to Canelo. yet we still all want to see these guys fight again, and they're still, they're doing well. Plant, he just came off of a knockout win after getting a few other wins that he's had. I don't know. It's crazy to see that Canelo is able to just make these guys look like just an easy day in the office when these guys they're all world-class boxers and they're younger than him.
Yeah. We better not see Pacheco versus Canelo next, though. I will say that right now. We better not see it right. We better not see it next, man.
Yeah.
None of that.
Canelo is
even then with Canelo versus Berlanga. I mean, that was still a little. The guy he wasn't ready entirely, and if we're being honest, but
Berlanga.
Yeah,
Berlanga wasn't ready. Munguia
wasn't ready entirely, if we're being honest with ourselves.
Munguia did a decent job of winning like 3-4 rounds.
Yeah, exactly. Like Munguia was able to win rounds at least. I mean,
Munguia was able to win rounds, but he also did not look ready either.
Yeah.
But sticking to the idea of Canelo, what could be next for Canelo Alvarez following his dominant performance against Edgar Berlanga? Will he finally fight David Benavidez? Will he go for a rematch with Caleb Plant? Does he have sights fully set on Dimitri Bivol? I've talked about this with you, Jeremy. We both expected this for a while. I think that he still has his sights fully set on Dimitri Bivol. And I think that if Riyadh season will ever work with Canelo, it will be on a card like this. And they can somehow fold Benavidez into the mix if possible. But this card could also be made without Riyadh season, because the other problem is that Riyadh season is very much adamant that they want Crawford to fight Canelo, which I'm not really sure why. But I don't know. I think he's set on Dimitri Bivol. There's nothing else for him to do at 168. Caleb Plant says he wants to fight him, but there's also, there's Skull that's in the division. There's
that's true.
And then he's technically the real mandatory, and there's a lot of other people that are there. So it's just tough. I mean, I think Canelo just wants to fight Bivol, and I think after that, like, Canelo doesn't have much to prove anymore, in the sense that 168 he's cleaned it all out. I just don't want to see any more rematches or anything else. He's cleaned it out.
Yeah.
And all he has left is David Benavidez, who at 168 was going to give him problems, but at 175 is actually not looking as much of a monster as he was. And Dimitri Bivol, who I think Canelo will always still have an opportunity in his mind to be able to beat. So I think that has his mind fully set on Bivol, and that's the fight he wants. And hopefully he can get it. If not, he probably will look into like some celebrity type fight, or maybe even just another young guy that he's going to fight, maybe another Charlo or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would want to see him fight Bivol, because it's time to get Canelo back into the mix where he's in a fight where it's like, wow, like, we don't know if he's going to win or not. Like it was, honestly, people don't give him credit, but every single fight he had at 168, people did not know if he was going to win it or not, because of the size differences, because of the IQ differences that he had with a lot of these fighters. But he showcased why Canelo Alvarez is in the spot that he's in now. So it's time for him to do it one more time. If he could beat a Bivol, or if he could beat a Benavidez, he cements himself in like almost really being able to be in any conversation for that Mount Rushmore boxing all time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking, what's it called? If Canelo chooses to stay at 168, then I think that Plant rematch for whatever reason, has a very real possibility of happening. I don't know why it would happen again.
I think it could happen.
If he chooses to stay at 168, it's very real that I think that's what's the next one. But obviously, should he move up to 175? Of course he's going to go for Bivol, which I feel like that's his more likely move, just to move up, because again, he's already cleaned it out. He's already beat Caleb Plant. But I feel like people would still some way, somehow, people would still pay for a Canelo versus Plant too.
I mean, I think there is, and I mean, Canelo would give it to him because it seems like they've actually they began to like each other a lot more over time. Yeah. So it's like Canelo just has a thing about being respectful with him and getting a title shot because of that. So I mean, that could definitely happen, but
it's like, we just kind of throw in David Benavidez for fun, because why not, right? But we know that fight's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, Canelo's smart though, because Benavidez, he's a monster, and it seems like he peaked, and he's peaking, And if he could catch him on his way down, Canelo could beat Benavidez when Benavidez had a few more wars. He's a little bit higher in weight. He starts feeling those punches at 175.
Yeah.
He starts to slow down, which he already has. Canelo's he's trying to make I think Canelo might fight Benavidez if he sees that Benavidez doesn't do well enough at 175, and he might go to 175 and say, hey, I'm going to fight Benavidez, and that'll be my last competitive fight. And he can prove a lot of people wrong at 175 against Benavidez as we saw, but Benavidez is still a monster, to be honest with you. He still beat a very decent opponent, so it's tough to say. But man, there's always so many possibilities in the world of boxing, but none like the one that we're going to be talking about last for today's show. We got Dana White has announced that he is finally entering the sport of boxing. While he wasn't specific about what his plans are, what could his plans be for the sport? Speculate. Well, if I'm speculating, honestly, I think the UFC they're going to be using 360 promotions and maybe another promotion, maybe a new promotion that they create or something to really be their primary promotion. And then they'll have people signed to the UFC like PBC does and just put on events and make larger events with young talent like they've created, like Callum Walsh and Sandoval and all these different fighters that 360 promotion has, and that, trust me, they will give a fight to anybody in any other promotion. They've built a really decent stable of guys that could give any other promotion a run for their money. And honestly, there's so much they could grow from, because 360 promotion just doesn't have the ability to promote like other boxing promotions do. They're very small scale, even though they get the help from the UFC. But I think that now Dana's all in, and it's the sky's the limit now in terms of boxing for Dana. I just think that obviously the fighter pay and the way that it's structured is way different than the UFC. But I think he knows that. I think he's always been aware of boxing and how boxing is a slightly different business model than any other combat sports event. So I think that he's going to know what to do, and that he's going to put on some pretty cool, spectacular shows, especially working with Riyadh Season. Riyadh Season is going to have 360 promotion guys on the cards now. I think that he's been waiting for a while for 360 promotions to get a really good stable of guys. And I think he picked an excellent promoter in Tom Loeffler, and probably their matchmaker, because they have some really good talent in places that other promotions didn't look at. In the sense that Callum Walsh is an amazing, he's a really good boxer. Like, I don't know, like 360 promotions, their fighters have not fought any other promotions fighters, and I think it's time that some of these guys actually start getting into the top fives and start challenging for titles.
Yeah. I think like, obviously UFC is definitely going to start small, even though they do have like the means to kind of go big, like probably immediately. No, they're definitely going to start small, and I think when they start small, they're gonna essentially basically have some kind of like scouting. But I don't think it's going to have like any affiliation with UFC. In terms of like, the only affiliation that it'll have with UFC is probably be like, maybe like cards on Fight Pass, maybe more cards on Fight Pass, that kind of thing. Which is honestly kind of, well, I guess I'm kind of speculating that now, that maybe there's more boxing on Fight Pass now. So I feel like they're gonna try to maybe develop some kind of like scouting thing to where they're scoping out local talent, and from there, absolutely give them.
I think so. I think
Walsh, I guess. I don't know. But
yeah, no, I think you're definitely right. They could definitely do that. I just think that, dude, with the Riyadh Season, we can see a lot of things. I think
Riyadh Season might even be helping them.
I think we might even see promotion versus promotion. We might see 360 have some guys in some matchroom cards, because Dana's actually been getting along with Eddie Hearn. So there's a lot of possibilities. A lot.
Yeah, it really is an interesting situation that Dana White has found himself. But honestly, only time will tell. Only he knows what the real plans are for UFC and boxing. But I think he would do great as a boxing promoter, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think all promoters, they're all very good at what they do.
Yeah.
And he is one of the best. So arguably the best promoter of all time. He's tied with a lot of other guys in what they've been able to do. But yeah, no, yeah, that was it's a big topic, and our last topic for today. We have a lot more news coming, of course, with all the cards that are going to be unfolding this weekend. So, see what happens next weekend. It's been the Combat Sports Guy. We are heading out. See you later, guys.